Today is a very, very beautiful holiday, a holy day, as Puja Swamiji says. In India, it's a day dedicated to Lord Ganesh. Now, Lord Ganesh is the one with the elephant head. And there's a long story of how he got the elephant head that I won't go into here, but he's our beautiful elephant-headed manifestation of the divine. Ganeshji is the one who is prayed to first, all the time, before anything, because he's seen as the remover of the obstacles. And so in our lives, even if we're going to do a very, very long puja, a very long worship ceremony, first will be to Ganesh. That, oh Ganeshji, I'm going to have this very long puja ceremony. I'm going to chant lots of mantras. I'm going to do lots of rituals and acts of love and devotion. Ultimately, they're for my connection with God. That's why we do puja. Remove any obstacles that I may face in doing my puja. But not just in our pujas, not just in our worship, not just in our ceremonies. Ganeshji is the one prayed to first all the time. Many, many people have a Ganeshji right when you enter the door of their house. Many Indian homes, you'll walk in the front door of the house and the first thing that you see is an image of Ganeshji. Oh God, let there not be any obstacles in this house, in this home, in this family. Yes, of course, the world is full of challenges, full of difficulties. But as we enter the home, let the home be free of obstacles. We pray to Ganeshji at the beginning of everything. A new job, a new home, whatever we're starting, any new endeavor, or even at any time in our life in which we feel like we're just stuck, when we want obstacles of any sort removed, Ganeshji is the one we pray to. And so today is the day of Ganeshji. But while this holiday and all of the holidays in the Hindu tradition are filled with so many stories from the scriptures, stories from the Puranas, stories from all of the different texts, filled with lots of different significances, different meanings of different elements. Ultimately, regardless of whether we are Indian, regardless of whether we're Hindu, we're able to take all of these holidays and holy days as ones that are meaningful for us. It's not necessary that you worship the meaning of his long trunk or the meaning of his round belly or the meaning of the mouse that's with him or that's not what is crucial. What's crucial is that we understand, what is Ganeshji a symbol of? And how can we, regardless of what our culture is, regardless of our religion, regardless of the language or the way that we pray, how can we bring Ganeshji in our life? Well, the cause of obstacles in our life is our own mind, our own brain, our own head. And it's symbolic when we look at the story of Ganeshji, because he lost his head and was then given a new one, the head of the elephant. And one of the meanings of this is for us, because of course whenever we look at Ganeshji, we remember, those of us who know the story, we remember the long, very sweet story of how he got his head cut off and how he got a new one. And what it does is it reminds us of the importance of the role of the head of the mind in obstacles and in the removal of the obstacles. Ganeshji is able to remove our obstacles only if we literally are prepared to offer him our mind. Not literally our heads that we have to cut off, but the mind, the brain that sits inside the head. Because that's the cause of the obstacles. The obstacles are not in the world outside. The obstacles are how I view the world outside. And so if I've set my mind, for example, that I am going to accomplish A, and all I get is an inability to accomplish A, well, in my mind, it may be the world that has created these obstacles. And I'm going to pray, oh Lord Ganeshji, remove every obstacle to me accomplishing A. But what I don't realize sometimes is that the greatest obstacle is my attachment to the idea that I'm supposed to accomplish A. My hard-headedness, my stubbornness that A is the way to go. If I decided that my highest goal in life, what I was meant to be, what I was meant to accomplish, was I was supposed to be a professional basketball player. And I was supposed to be a basketball player who started and starred for a major professional basketball team. And I started studying with all of the best basketball coaches and practicing my dribbling all day long. Well, there'd be a lot of obstacles to that. Obstacle number 1, I'm 47 and female and 5'3". I challenge you to tell me any professional basketball player who fulfills even 2 of those 3 characteristics. If not now, in history. Any 2 of those 3 has a basketball player, a professional star basketball player, ever fulfilled 2 of those 3 things? Not that I know of. But if I've decided that that's what I want, and I pray to Ganeshji to remove the obstacles, well, what's the greatest obstacle here? The greatest obstacle is my cockamamie idea that somehow this is what I'm put on earth to be. Clearly I'm not. If that were what I were put on earth to be, by the age of 47, I would have somewhat more of an athletic build, somewhat more of a prowess in sports. Chances are I'd be a little bit taller. The obstacle here is not anything in the outer world, or even in my physique. My physique is perfect, as long as I'm not attached to the idea that I'm supposed to be a professional basketball player. So if we take the full picture, we realize the only problem is my attachment to here is how things are supposed to be. And this is true in almost every area of our life. In our workplace, in our families, If you ask most people, what are the obstacles that they face? What is it you pray most to Ganeshji for? What a lot of times you'll hear is things like, remove all the obstacles that are keeping me from being as rich as the guy next door. Remove the obstacles that are keeping me from becoming the head of this company. Remove the obstacles that are keeping me from getting my mother-in-law or daughter-in-law or sister-in-law to finally move out of the house. Or let me move out of the house. Remove the obstacles that keep my husband or my wife or my children or my parents from, for God's sakes, acting like normal people, being like normal people, doing what I want them to do. And in all of these circumstances, if we step back, we realize that the problem isn't anywhere except in my notion of how things should be. In what layout of the world is it written, I'm the one who's supposed to be the president of the company? In what plan of the world is it written that I'm supposed to be as rich as the guy next door, or richer than the guy across the street, or richer than my brother or my uncle or my cousin? Where is that written? In what worldview am I entitled to someone else's money or job or spouse or car? These are the things we yearn for, though. Well, Ganeshji isn't here to push people out of the way so you can get ahead. Ganeshji isn't here to make other people fools so you can get them to do your bidding. Oh, Ganeshji, please help me, convince them that my way is the right way. That's not what Ganeshji's here for. The obstacles are the obstacles in my own mind. And so the prayer on this day and every day is, help me remove literally my head, my mind, my brain, my identity that is so stuck with who it thinks it is, with how it thinks the world should be, that I'm in stress and I'm in trouble, and I create stress and trouble for people around me because I'm trying to make them do what I want. I'm trying to bend the world according to how I want it to be. Ganeshji's not here to make people believe your lies or, forget the things that you've done wrong to them. That's not what Ganeshji's here for. Those aren't the obstacles. Ganeshji, please, make those people forget how badly I treated them, and they should again follow me, again do what I say. That's not the obstacles that we pray to Ganeshji for. We pray to Ganeshji for, Ganeshji, please remove from me my own ego. That's my obstacle. It's the obstacle in my own mind. It's the obstacle between me and a good night's sleep. It's the obstacle between me and good health, between me and peace, between me and joy in my family, between me and my community, me and my colleagues. That's the only obstacle. And so we literally offer our head, our minds, our egos, our identifications to Ganeshji. And we pray for the removal of that within us, which is an obstacle to our lives. Because the truth is, when you look at the story of Ganeshji, we have a boy. Then we have a boy who has his head cut off. Well, in all practical purposes and all real world stories, you'd have a dead boy. But we then get a boy who has the head of an elephant put back on, and he's alive. Now, in this world, in the real world that we talk about, that's impossible. The fact that this happens to be a story of the gods is a separate issue here. I'm going someplace different. Because this story is meaningful whether you believe in Lord Shiva and his powers or not. Whether you believe in Parvati Ma or not. If you do, then of course the story makes sense anyway. But even if you don't, even if you come from a different culture, a different religion, here's what that shows us. Is in order for the obstacles to be removed from our life, in order for Ganeshji literally, as the divine remover of obstacles, to take birth, we have to be prepared to accept a different version of reality, which is exactly what this new being is forcing us to do. It's a different version of reality. And as long as we say, no, that can't happen, about Ganeshji, we're saying that about our lives. No, it cannot happen. That it's just as good if this guy's richer than I am, or this guy's more successful than I am, or these people are late, or these people don't do what I want, or this one treats me like this, or I'm not successful here. Our refusal to let go of our preconceived notion of what our reality is supposed to be is the same refusal to allow the possibility of a boy with an elephant's head. And so in this being, when we realize that the stories are given to us for a purpose, for a teaching that's universal, well, why are we forced to accept boy with elephant's head? Something that's so inconceivable. Because in the acceptance of that, it creates space in us to say, well, all right, okay. Maybe that's how it happened. Boy with elephant's head. Okay, I'll go for that. And the same faith that enables us to say, okay, I'll go for that, enables us to accept a version of reality, a version of our lives in which maybe we weren't meant to be the richest. Maybe we weren't meant to achieve X, Y, or Z. Maybe we weren't meant to make fools of these people or have these people follow us or be the head of this. Maybe we were meant to simply be a tool in God's hands, a humble, clear tool for the divine to use. Maybe it's not actually all about us. And as we accept this version of boy with elephant's head, it creates the space in us to also accept another possibility for our lives. And in accepting that, that's when the obstacles get removed. And amazingly, that's when the miracles happen. When we become humble, when we literally bow down in humility, that's where the flow of grace can come. That's where we really get used. Not by others, Our fears were going to be used by others. But we actually get used by the divine. When we're humble, it's the divine who's able to use us as a tool, as a vessel, as a vehicle for the divine will. And that's when all sorts of miracles take place. Boy with elephant head being only the very beginning. But that's why we go through Ganeshji. We first pray to remove the obstacles in my own head. And then everything else becomes possible.